Skyrim has a thief problem. And I'm not just talking about all the random dead thieves that litter the streets of Riften if you spend your nights there. Oh no, I'm talking about playing as a thief in Skyrim. I recently attempted a challenge run called Skyrim AE Stolen Items Only, where I could only use stolen items, and the goal was to restore the Thieves Guild. Obviously this meant I was playing as a thief, and as the series progressed, I couldn't help but notice more and more issues with playing that type of character in Skyrim. And the problem is a complex one, as I believe it's both too easy and too hard to be a good thief in Skyrim. So in this video, I'll isolate the problems, explain why they irk me, and give potential solutions to each one. And to make things easy to follow, I'm splitting this video up into chapters, each one talking about one of the different thief skills, as denoted by the Thief's Stone. First up we have Archery, which some may argue is a warrior skill, but it is covered under the Thief's Stone rather than the warrior, so maybe it's a thief skill? It's one of those things the community at large seems to be uncertain on. Doesn't really matter though, as this will be the shortest section, as the Archery skill tree is really good. Overdraw gives you raw damage, Eagle Eye and Steady Hand help with accuracy, Hunter's Discipline keeps you stocked up on arrows, and both Ranger and Quick Shot make you faster with your bow. Honestly, it's a great skill tree that covers pretty much every improvement you would want, so that's a thumbs up from me, no problem here. Likewise, I think Alchemy is a really solid skill tree overall. I do have a couple of minor issues, mostly relating to the perks which require the highest level of Alchemy. Once you hit 80 in the skill, you can get Snake Blood, which halves poison damage, pretty niche and not incredibly strong. At 90, if you've already invested 3 other points, you can get the last rank of Experimenter and eat ingredients to learn all their effects. Problem here is that you've already grinded the skill for hours at this point, you probably know all the good effects anyway. Cool perk, but should have been much lower on the requirements. And finally, there's Purity, which offers very niche benefits by removing positive effects from poisons and negative ones from potions. But once again, you've just maxed out this skill. Chances are you aren't regularly using healing potions which also damage you in some way. Sure, there's a few recipes where this perk comes in handy, but it also limits the massive money-making machine that Alchemy is, so it's a minor improvement to how good a few potions are, and in return, you get less gold. Not a great final perk. But honestly, those two skills aren't why we're here, and don't play too heavily into the thief archetype. Sure, they can both be used by thieves, but they're also just as much warrior-based skills. And Alchemy itself works with every type of build. That's what's so great about it. We need to move on to the skills you will almost certainly be using as a thief, starting with light armour. There's a few variations of Thieves Guild armour, but all of them fall under the light armour category. The thing is, light armour isn't exclusive to the thief archetype, and therefore the skill tree doesn't have anything particularly sneak thief based. Most of the perks are about increasing your armour rating, which, while helpful, is something you shouldn't be worrying about too much as a thief, as you shouldn't be getting hit. Unhindered and Windwalker are the two perks which I can see in the tree as being kind of useful for a thief, as they both make you faster in different ways, which I could see as a useful thing if you're looking to outrun the guards after getting caught, or something like that. But chances are you aren't taking much damage while playing as a thief, so good luck leveling the skill enough to be able to unlock them. Honestly, the light armor skill tree isn't really designed for a pure thief, which begs the question, why is basically all the Thieves Guild apparel light armor? And why does the Thieves Guild even have a uniform in the first place? If you're a thief, the last thing you want is to be noticed. Nondescript should be your keyword, and yet the guild are all wearing the same distinct outfit, making them stand out more than half the people in Skyrim. And we know that the armour is recognisable, because guards will comment on it.
Try to hide it all you want. I know you're in the Thieves Guild, and so do the other guards.
All the thieves at night that the town butchers are wearing it, and when Brynjolf is trying to blend in, he wears fine clothes instead.
Never done an honest day's work in your life for all that coin you carry, eh lad?
The real problem here is that Thieves Guild armour doesn't make sense. Nightingale does, that's a specific mystical thing. But for the practical thief, wearing clothing would be the perfect choice. You want to look just like a regular civilian, so instead of being gifted with a "hey look at me" armour set by Tanelia, why not have the option to upgrade clothing items in some way? After all, we got that in Fallout 4 with Ballistic Weave. Help out the Railroad, who are basically the Thieves Guild style equivalent in that game, and you can make your bathrobe super defensive. While just straight up armour stats aren't ideal for a thief, it would still be nice to have. And maybe extra pockets in which to store more loot, or dark dye for clothing to make it stealthier. Plus you could have it that switching to a different outfit while hidden means the guards don't immediately notice and try to arrest/kill you if you committed a crime in their hold, you know, Hitman style. There's a lot of different cool stuff that could have been done with what the Thieves Guild wear, but sadly we got a much more simplified solution. I do get it though. Skyrim is already a huge game that took a ton of work. Even if some of these ideas and concerns were bounced around during development, it was probably just a case of, we don't have enough time, let's just keep it simple. What I'm not as forgiving of is lockpicking. Now, I'm not talking about the lockpicking minigame here, I think it's good. I prefer it to Oblivion's more realistic yet temperamental one, and I think it still feels like the right sort of thing to do to open a lock. Nope, my problem here is twofold, and first is that there are lockpicks everywhere in Skyrim. I swear, 90% of all civilians are just walking around with criminal tools in their pockets, and nobody cares. All the general traders sell them freely, and you often find them in chests. They're so prolific that even when I was restricted to just stealing them, I still ended up with more than I'd ever need. I'm sure we all get to the point in the playthrough where our lockpicks show us 99+, and we never have to worry about running out. Not only is there an immersion issue here with crime tools just being commonplace, but it also makes it so you really don't need to be any good at the lockpicking minigame. You have so many picks in your inventory that you can break half a dozen on every lock and still be golden. And this is where we turn to the skill tree. There are 11 different perks in this tree, and 8 of them make it easier to open locked things in some way. But as I've already established, we all have so many lockpicks that we can just trial and error our way through every lock we come across. It's a waste of precious perk points to invest at all in this tree, as to get the few good perks, you still have to purchase some of the near worthless ones. Quick Hands lets you pick locks without being noticed, which is real thematic for a thief, but you better be prepared to spend 3 perk points for it, as you need both Novice and Apprentice lock perks first. Golden Touch gives more gold in chests, just what a greedy thief would want, but this time you need to spend 4 points to reach it, 3 of which are worthless. On the bright side, once you have got it, then you're free to spend another point on Treasure Hunter, which gives you a 50% greater chance of finding special treasure. What does this mean precisely? Nobody knows, because nobody has ever wasted so many of their perks getting to it. There are a few really cool perks in this tree, but they're locked behind the worst skill tree in the game. Novice, Apprentice, Adept, Expert, and Master locks did not all need their own separate perks to make them easier to unlock. Just stick with the standard locks are now 20% easier to unlock archetypal system as the first perk point, and then have fun with putting cool stuff in the other ones. I genuinely think that the lockpicking skill tree has a couple of the most thematic perks in it, but they're hidden behind a huge trove of trash that nobody really benefits from. If lockpicks were scarce, then all these perks to improve the skill would make sense, because you would desperately want to avoid running out of picks and missing out on treasure. But when you have hundreds in your pocket, there's no incentive to really spend any points on this tree. I've made 75 different Skyrim character builds on this channel, covering every possible playstyle you can do in Skyrim, and yet not a single one invested any perks in lockpicking, because even when I'm playing a pure pacifist thief, there's just no reason to invest in this worthless skill. Okay, to cool down a bit, we're going to talk about another skill I think was done well. Sneak. One side of the skill tree is all about keeping you hidden, and the other side relates to dealing more damage with your sneak attacks. Lovely. That's a simple yet sensible way to do things, which is how sneaking overall works in Skyrim. While certainly not perfect and somewhat easy to exploit, it's a solid enough system which I like and treat as the default expectation for stealth systems in other games. That all being said, there is one minor point where I take issue with Sneak, and that is with the stealth perk. It's the first in the tree, and that means you can pick up the first rank no matter what. And I'd recommend doing so, as it makes you a monumental 20% harder to detect. Even if you're only sneaking on occasion, for a single point, this is well worthwhile. The problem is that the following ranks each only give a 5% boost, making them so much worse than the first, while also being harder to get. Let's spell it out here. For a 20% boost, you need to spend 1 skill point, and you don't need any levels in Sneak. For a 40% boost to sneaking, you need to spend 5 skill points and have 80 in Sneak. You see how that doesn't add up? The first rank is incredible, and all the others kind of suck. If each rank had been 10%, then I think this would have been much better, giving you small bonuses to sneaking as you go, rather than a huge one at the start and next to nothing at later levels. Onto our penultimate skill, Speech. This is another one where it's not a skill only used by thieves. After all, basically every class is going to be buying and selling items, and thereby levelling the skill. As such, most of the perks are somewhat generic towards the speech skill as a whole, which makes sense. However, Bethesda still made sure to include a couple of perks which help thieves out specifically. Bribery only requires the skill to be at 30, and a couple of points invested, and it allows you to pay guards off in order to ignore your crimes. While this is countered a little by the fact that being a member of a Thief Guild lets you do this exact same thing, it's still nice in theory. If you're willing to grind speech up to 90 and spend a fair few points in it, you can get access to the Fence perk, allowing you to sell stolen goods to any shop you have invested in with the Investor perk. While the requirements for this one are rather high, it gives a great endgame to a thief character, where you spend a little gold on shopkeepers in order to make it so they're willing to buy whatever goods you've pilfered. This really plays into the power fantasy of the Master Thief, as you can roleplay that the merchants simply trust you because you've been so good to them that your goods obviously must be fine to purchase, or that you're such a renowned thief that you've been able to set up a nationwide fence network to serve your needs. A great endgame perk for thief characters to work towards. And finally, we get to Pickpocket. Those of you who watch my Stolen Items Only series will already know what's coming, because I complained about this in nearly every single episode. Why does the Pickpocket success chance only go up to 90%? Even if you're the Guildmaster, a Nightingale, or even the Grey Fox, you can't steal a single coin from a sleeping drunkard without a 10% chance of getting caught. That is ridiculous. I could forgive this if the cap was at 99% or even 95%, as it shows that there's always a very slim chance of being caught, but 1 in 10 is crazy high, and leads to the only realistic way to pickpocket in this game successfully is to save scum. For those uncorrupted by this method, what it means is that you quick save the game right before attempting the pickpocket, and if you fail, you just load the save back up. And you repeat this method until you succeed. I hate save scumming, and yet I do it all the time with Pickpocket in Skyrim, because otherwise all that happens is you get caught and killed by murder-happy guards. And here's the thing, I've played a game with percentage chance pickpocketing that goes up to 100%, and it's great. Specifically here, I'm talking about Octopath Traveler 1 and 2. In both of these games, if you play as the thief character, you can go up to NPCs and attempt to steal items from them. It's a simple percentage chance of succeeding, and to increase the chance, you need to level up. Easy items such as basic healing components are simple to steal even at low levels, but the best items out there are incredibly difficult to steal, even at crazy high levels. It's a very straightforward system that Skyrim honestly should have been using. If I've got my pickpocket skill up to 100, invested in all the perks that raise my chances, and I'm stealing from someone who's asleep, it should be a 100% chance to get 5 measly gold coins from them. But when it comes to trying to steal the clothes that someone is wearing in the middle of the day, sure thing, make the chance low. Maybe even a 0 if I'm not skilled enough yet. A 0% chance is fine, so long as you can also go up to a guaranteed steal in the right situation. And this is basically the only thing that ruins Pickpocket for me. There's a couple of very minor things I don't like, such as pickpocketing while being detected being fine, and the extra pockets perk, which I feel would have been better in the light armor skill tree, but honestly, that's just me nitpicking a bit, and neither of those detract from my enjoyment at all. What does is the bloody 90% cap, which is the entire reason I avoid this skill. It's the dumbest thing in the game, I hate it, and whoever decided to cap the chance, I hope you step in a dog turd today. I got a little heated there again, but I hope you all see where I'm coming from. Being a thief in Skyrim is almost really good, but there's a few real easy to fix problems which would have made the playstyle great, instead of insanely frustrating. Ultimately, pickpocketing is too hard, and lockpicking is too easy. Just bring both of them close to the middle, and you've got a perfect game to be a thief in. But that's just my opinion. Do you agree, or am I wrong and the dumbest person to ever make a YouTube video? Let me know in the comments. Feel free to subscribe for many more Skyrim videos. Seriously, there's so many. I mentioned the 75 builds and the challenge runs. There's hundreds of videos. Go watch them. But as always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.